preface before we start, I got into this type of Christmas tree ornament primarily because I didn't like hollowing out the segmented type. If I'm going to turn, I want to see what I'm doing, and it was just not quite a disaster, but anyway. So I'm complaining to Joe Morris, and he said, well, why don't you do one of these glue-up ones? So I said, where'd that come from? And he said he had gotten it from a not a show and tell, but a course or demo at the outfit down the road. We won't mention its name. And Hal Brown. So, in all due respect, I didn't really take off from there. My usual one has been one of this shape and style. And so we'll go into that. I've also done for George North this bigger one, and at the end I'll talk about what you have to do different from that. Let's see. It's got 4 sides, top and a bottom, and we drill it. That's why I call this a drilled and turned ornament. We take a block like this, and in this case I drilled, let's see, what did I drill on this one? The hole. 1-inch drill. This is 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 by 1 1/2, I believe. And so I drill using Forstner bit, excuse me. I drill it out. But before you do that, or for me anyway, because I've had some trouble, I have a lot of what you call negative knowledge in how to do things. So when I started making parts for this show and tell here, I decided I rough cut it out I'll rough cut the blank. I jointed 2 sides square, and then I ran this chunk through my planer, because if you don't have it square, you'll end up with a thing that looks like this, where it's narrow, thick. So it behooves you to get that thing square. I drill halfway. Well, no, let me go back. You got to get the drills, especially the end drill, centered. So you got to crisscross it. I use an awl, and I punch it hard because my eyes aren't as good as they used to be, and I got to have a nice deep hole for that drill tip to go into. Then we go in halfway, turn it around, go in halfway, and then do the sides the same way, half and half. I use a drill press and a machinist's vise to hold it, a heavy one. I don't bolt it. I find I don't have to bolt it down. It wouldn't hurt, depending upon, I suppose, what kind of wood you're using, because it does try to move when you have a big bit. Go slow and go halfway each way. The top is even more important, that you get that hole dead center and then glue it to the block nice and square. And in that manner, when you're talking about gluing it up, I try to make the caps on the top and bottom to match this dimension exactly, so that it's easier for me to square it. On the sides, I found that it helps to make these the sides a little narrower and a little shallower, because you're going to turn it and you're going to get rid of those corners and all that, so you don't need the material out there. And if you have a full-size block and it slips out there while you're gluing, it screws up the other side, which happened. This block I glued up parts of it already. I glued up parts of this already because there's no use screwing around. And I glued up the sides first because I just wanted to make a simple here, but I should have glued up the ends first to make it easier to stick together. I use Titebond or any other yellow glue that you got available in your shop. And
You talking about running that through your jointer. Did you do that when the pieces were longer, or did you do the little pieces that you left the jointer?
what I did on the, no, I did it mostly on the block, not the thin sides and ends. I had to because on this one because the side was a wedge of wood that looks like it's a burl, except it looked like it was a wedge of wood where somebody dropped a tree, but it was big. So it didn't make sense, but anyway, that's what the deal was.
You didn't run that small part across the jointer, did you?
Huh?
You didn't run that
You were
small.
holding.
No.
You ran a long piece
Okay.
across.
I ran the body.
Yeah.
Well, I've run some pretty thin pieces across the jointer, but I wouldn't recommend it here. Find out if you squeeze them pretty tight to begin with. And notice I didn't glue both sides. We're not doing anything structural here. But keep double checking to make sure it's in the center. What happened? Well, we'll get to that bit of negative knowledge in a little bit here. Now, you should let it dry about 24 hours, the glue. You can take the clamps off. If you're doing a lot of them, you can take the clamps off in about 30 minutes. Let's see, where are we?
Did you ever consider chucking that little piece, which I presume it's square, right?
Yeah.
Chuck it and turn like a 1/16 tenon on it to match the hole and not worry about the clamp sliding in?
No. No, I didn't consider it.
It'd be a pain to turn.
Well, it would also add weight, wouldn't it?
No, you're turning the material away.
Not if it's going in the big hole in the body.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking a fraction of a gram maybe.
Well,
But
which brings up the point.
your
These,
lineup becomes
yeah.
stone simple.
Yeah, it's a good idea and worth a little thought. This ornament just comes out just about 2 ounces, so we try to keep it away. Now, when we get done turning is when I chamfer the hole, because we're going to use, you know, a finial with Mark Soleil, I think, came up with this bevel there, and we're going to use that. It worked. I don't know whether I ever did any without doing that, but it sure has made it a lot easier to do it this way. But you don't want to chamfer. You think, well, while I got it on the drill press, I'll chamfer that hole. Well, when you chamfer that hole and you do a big one like this and you put it on your mandrel, if you chamfer just a little bit too much, all of a sudden that mandrel shifts in there. So we quit doing that. This shifted so much on this one, I had to make another one for George. But you can see the hole that's in there that I drilled. Now, so we glued it up. I should have one here to turn.
Right there in front of you.
Huh?
Right there in front of you.
Yeah. You mean this one?
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. Now, while you're helping me, what did I do with the pin mandrel? We know we brought it.
What are you looking for?
The pin mandrel.
Oh, right to the top.
There it is. Okay. As we're saying, my old lathe is rather old, and so we've put an adapter on this. Yeah, let's put this on first. My spacers, because the thing is designed for turning pins, the spacer on that is a little different. I needed something a little long, 1/4 inch, and I'm looking around, and I don't, like my wife tells me, I don't throw anything away. And umpteen years ago, apparently I was working on the gas line of a car, and that's what this is. It's 1/4 inch, it's got a flange fitting, which helps, I think, but I wouldn't go out and buy a,
Back when they had carburetors,
huh?
Back when they had carburetors.
Yeah.
Well, they still got fuel lines.
Or just take your pin blank and drill a hole in it.
Huh?
Or just take a pin blank and drill a hole in it.
There you go.
Yeah, if I had one. I've made one.
Just scrap of wood. Scrap of wood with a hole in it. Yeah.
Oh,
Two wood's fine.
oh, by the way, after I glue it up, I take it over to, I happen to have a big disc sander, and I knock off these corners because I've had where I had an oak top on it, and luckily it just took a chunk out and I could salvage it. But from then on, I started chamfering those corners just to be on the safe side.
Bill, do you have a completed one you might want to pass around?
Yeah. Before I pass it, let me jump ahead so that you're aware. This one I soaked for 24 hours in Watco. A glass, poured it full of Watco, dropped it in there with a bolt in it to hold it down, and it came out, I thought, kind of dark. So I did this one for 15 minutes, and I might not have waited long enough before I polished it. And this one is Jimmy Rocker's spraying it with lacquer sanding sealer lacquer.
How long did you let it dry before you bucked it?
Probably a day. Okay, now we're going to get, let's see. I need the box, yeah. Okay. I'm a hobbyist turner, so don't look at the technique.
Aren't we all?
Well, I consider some of you fellows experts, so I do not watch the technique. Quietly after, you come up and tell me what the hell I did wrong. I'd appreciate it.
You'll turn the recording off?
Yeah, there might be some choice words.
This is being videoed.
I better, somebody keep reminding me we have ladies tonight.
You know, we're on the internet live, right?
Goodbye.
Demo's over now.
How fast do you get going that with that thing, Bill?
Huh?
How fast do you get that thing going?
This beats me.
You have to be on the high speed
Looks like it's
range.
going pretty slow.
Yeah, you're on the, that's the middle speed range. That'll go up to
Yeah, you
about,
got the speed all the turn.
that'll go up to 1800 on the middle range. You want to go,
You can turn it up more. More too.
Whatever that is.
okay, is that fast enough or you can put it on the high speed range?
No, I'll go to high after.
Okay.
Like I said, I got a little nervous after I started throwing pieces of it off. Oh, I forgot to mention, I also use an O-ring on there. Joe Moore's told me that he uses O-rings, so I thought, well, that sounds okay. He does it so because it grips better, but I found out that it helps when I go down there that I don't take rather hit the O-ring than the.
What kind of wood? What kind of wood is that?
It's walnut. It's a limb of a tree, and I have brought some thin CA glue because if you're going to mess with that kind of wood, it's best to have some CA glue around and glue up the cracks. This is a gouge, a spindle gouge that Mark Soleil profiled for me. So, and he'll probably resent using his name at this demo, but that's the way it goes.
Bill, how'd you get the through holes through it lined up? You got your square block, you put the scraps on all 6 sides, right?
Yeah.
And then how do you, and they're not always centered, right? They're just sort of like you say, slapped on there.
Yeah.
So how do you get the hole drilled perfectly through the center?
You mean the small hole in the cap?
For the ones for your
Yeah, the small hole in the cap.
One for the mandrel, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I crisscross them to get a center line. And again, I use this to punch the center. With a grain in this type of awl, you can move it around so that you can see the center is good. Then I use a brad point so I can see easier doing it, bringing the drill down into it.
You drill straight through or just drill each end separately?
Well, I drill each end separately, yeah. Yeah, that's why I say you've got to, when you put that cap on, you got to keep it square or in line with the main block. If you don't, you end up with that. generally use a piece of white paper to help and look at it. What I like is, as I said, it's a little bit longer than it is square, and I prefer the egg shape rather than try to get it, you know, uniformly round. Also, if I mess up, I can always turn it over. You know, the worst part of doing this demo was I came in on our turning day, and it's the first time that I'd used a modern lathe.
I mean, you didn't have to pedal it.
Yeah. Doing that, you know, then when it gets hard, you know, you got to use both feet, and that's really difficult. But anyway, I figured doing this demo is going to cost me about $550.
Kind of like it, huh?
Huh?
You kind of like a modern lathe, huh?
Yeah.
I wish this was out when I bought my jet. I would have bought this one for the jet.
You know, if you just see it and you just read the specs, it doesn't but it's like the fact that I went to such great efforts to square up that block, where most of you, I'm sure, have got a decent table saw. I've got it's old, and it's a direct drive, and I've used it a lot. I've made a lot of furniture and stuff on it, but you know, it's going like this now. So it makes it very difficult to get something nice and square.
Put bearings in it and keep on going.
Huh?
Say put bearings in it and keep on going.
Yeah.
Just needs new bearings, too.
If it,
I don't like your attitude. I like get rivet and get a new one.
He just wants excuse to buy a new one.
Yeah.
the good heavy saws are, you know, the motor shaft is the arbor.
Yep.
You can't find a woman, what do you do?
Okay. That needs a little bit more work, but we're not gonna keep messing around here. I was lucky enough to acquire a bunch of ornament. That's how you pronounce it? The Merca stuff? Abernet. And I find out, especially when I'm with my old antique, and I'm not going to sand in here because
You can stand it if you want. You know, we try to stop people from doing it during the U-turn day when you got 7 or 8 lathes in here. But if you only went up on the front there, and you're already making up there a little more, we won't be breathing it. People try not to do that.
in that case I should have done a better job. Hang on.
Sandpaper.
Back to turning.
Want me to move to the back?
Ted Ricks used to stay 80 grit sandpaper.
Well, that's my theory, and you're going to see it in use. No, the touch, if I ever had one, is gone. So close enough. And because it is rough, we'll start off with 80.
So who had the supply of the apron that they gave you that one? And you gave your address?
Don't let it out of here. But as you know, I do birdhouses
Yeah, right.
and bird feeders. And the lady that I work for's husband sells, he's the only salesman now in Atlanta. And they came out with a new lines of stuff. And there was what, four or six of us that had been working with her. He says, "You guys want to use sandpaper?" "Yeah, we use sandpaper." And so he came, went to one of our work sessions there, and he brought in boxes of sandpaper. I guarantee you, we distributed it between 6 of us, and I'll never buy another piece of sandpaper or one of these things. And then one of them, if you remember Doug Hoxaludo, he's the one that tipped me off about you getting one of these pads and using that, because, well, I'll demo.
That's that stuff you don't have to replace,
Yeah.
right? Block it out.
What's that, just a foam pad, Bill?
Yeah, it's a foam pad.
It's just sticking on the sand.
Yeah, they talk about, a lot of the turners say they hate sanding. But with this, and, you know, it don't bother me at all. I stand here all day and sand. But we're not going to do that. Anyway, you go through these. I'm not going to do it all. I go down to, maybe 600, and that's good enough.
Did you make the box for this?
Huh?
Did you make the box for the sandpaper?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got shamed into it by Jimmy Rocker. I went over to his place, and he was organized, and I thought, geez, I could do that. Anyway.
Traveling box.
Huh?
That's your traveling box.
No, it's an attempt to be organized.
Hey, it works, what the heck, you know?
Yeah. Okay, we'll pretend like that's all sanded up. Because if we get done early, I'm going to let you guys do something. Let's see. Since I don't have Dan's fancy wrench.
Any hardware store.
Huh?
You can buy them in any hardware store.
Actually went out after that last demo, wasn't bought one that day.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good idea. The basin wrench.
Oh,
Okay, as I explained before, I then take it and stick it in, fill up the jar, and I'll probably still use that because I like that, but this wood is so dark. I don't mind the walnut being dark, but that other stuff is so dark that I think it needs all the light it can get.
Bill, something I got from Jimmy Clues, if you don't, you could try putting some shellac on it, some thin sand and sealer shellac, and that'll soak in, and then the oil won't soak in so deep, it may not make it so dark. just put a,
Oh, yeah,
some real thin shellac on it first before you put the water oil on it.
okay. Good idea. Okay. So then, if I can find another piece.
What kind of oil were you talking about, Bill?
Hmm?
What kind of oil?
Oh, the Watco Danish oil.
Oh, Danish oil? Okay.
Is that a colored Danish oil?
No, it's called neutral.
That's clear neutral.
How long you say you let them soak in there? About
Well, that first,
Yeah, it's over here, Bill.
yeah, the darker one was 2 days. And the lighter one was 15 minutes, and the lighter one yet was just a flash coat of lacquer sanding sealer. Okay, so now we got that. This one, this one that I'm going to use to finish up on was just lacquer sealer. Might not have dried long enough. I just dried it, I just shot it up yesterday or today. But if you use the lacquer sealer, you gotta take a little bit of it off. And I forgot to bring some tissue paper, but that's okay. Huh? Yeah. There's some bags over there.
Don't wipe it on the shirt like the rest of it.
Well, I thought about the pants, but
Your wife might have something to say about that, huh?
yeah. Somebody was talking about getting stuff on their in their. That happens. The wives buy you those coats to wear. If you're lucky. But then they check on you to see if you're wearing it. And that sometimes can get embarrassing. Now comes the adventurous part. You notice I didn't throw anything off the lathe. We will try to correct that problem. I use the Bill buffing. I use knobby gloves. And I try to remember to keep one hand underneath it. Because when you lose this in a shop like I got, it took a half hour and calling my wife who finally found it. What can I say? As Dan pointed out the other day, give a little shot of that. Put your hand underneath it before you even get close to it. Don't worry about the wheel hitting your glove. It doesn't hurt. Before you move, pull away from the wheel. I have no idea. I've got a shop full of probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 motors that have come off everything from a washing machine when I was a kid to the last heat exchanger or the problem with this is 1725, and some applications, especially if you're using the ball, suggest that you use a different speed. I forget whether it's faster or slower. Huh?
You always mount that balls on the lathe for faster.
Yeah. If you had an adapter.
Bill, a suggestion about that to make it easier to hold, you get some 1/4-20 threaded rod and get the jig handles. They have out here for sale, the 1/4-20 tattered handles. You put that on the threaded rod, put a handle on each side, and hold on to the handles instead of trying to hold that little ornament. So you hold the threaded
Yeah, and as long as you can get to the end.
Right.
Oh, damn. Normally, I have a one of those Intarsia sanding drums on the other end. So you got something to grab easily to take one of these off, but we'll get it off. Maybe we'll get it off. Yeah. Everybody familiar with the Beal? Yeah. Yeah, anybody that wasn't here last week? Huh? Safety first.
We'll edit that out of YouTube.
Huh?
We'll edit that out of
Yeah. I'm going to get sued. Oh, well. Huh?
was up in Michigan last week, he gave me like a box full, all these different things. I figured out there's like $200 worth of the micro mesh. So, all right. He's coming back in October, so I'm gonna try and clean and bring some more down there.
Can ship him a couple of empty suitcases. No, once but twice.
I think he's doing that in case we missed it.
You've been watching too many Richard Raffin DVDs.
Well, we won't get too carried away with that. That's like watching grass grow, I guess they say.
You said that was walnut, and what other kind of wood?
I don't know. It was given wood. It looks like a burl, but I can't understand how a burl wedge could be that size.
Actually, it just looks spalted more than a burl.
Yeah, it's small maple or something.
Maybe that's what it was.
That way
Yeah.
it would be wide like you said.
Yeah.
It should be.
Pretty anyway.
Okay, now we do the chamfering. Like I said, I don't chamfer that hole ahead of time because I've had the disastrous effects. Not with the little ones, but with the bigger one. So I just kind of eyeball it.
Is that a carbide tipped?
This? No. They didn't have carbide when I bought that.
So it's got a few years on it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, back in the 60s. Back in the 60s, I lived in Michigan, and I built ice boats. Well, I built two, rather, not plural. And that's when I bought this to countersink the screws. If I'd been smart, I would have bought that table saw then. But I hate to tell you what I did, but I will. I had a scroll saw, a Monkey Ward scroll saw from the 1940s. And you know, a scroll saw, it cuts this way. I took it apart and re-drilled it so it cut this way, so I could rip 12-foot planks of spruce for the sides of those ice boats. You talk about,
Worked, right?
huh?
It worked, right?
Well, it's a good thing I like fooling around in the basement because you spend a lot of time.
It took 2 winters to rip out the planks.
Yeah, you got that right. Now, let's see. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to do some more turning. As soon as I find my chuck. There it is. Wish Butch was here. Butch keeps telling me that this isn't a supernova because of such and so and so. I keep saying, well, the box it came in says supernova, so that's that. what I do is, like I say, this is the limbs of trees. So I get a plank, make up a plank, you know, saw it and all that. Then I saw out squares. But I don't like putting, I've had some bad experience putting squares in jaws. So I stick it in just temporarily, turn this end round, then put the round end in here. And so far I haven't had a disaster doing that. Wish Dan was around to talk me into buying the jaws that you just squeeze. Now I use a long stick and I use a tailstock, and I just keep working down the line. And because you end up with a little knob there, if you're lucky, you'll break that off. And leave a little hole. And then you can slide this in. Yeah, I should have followed the procedure. Because I forgot to mark what jaw was where. So we'll loosen that up with just a tad.
You gotta hold that handle straight up.
Oh yeah.
Then slide it.
Well, maybe that's a reason for me not to buy one. And invariably, you turn this one the wrong way.
Excuse me, now, is that walnut to match the center of those blocks, or looks about the same color? I'm trying to judge what you got in there.
Yeah, it's walnut from that same tree or limb, but it varies on its color. I was surprised, whoops. I was surprised that when I sprayed it, that it darkened up. So, well, you'll see them later. But when I sprayed it, it darkened up and looked okay. Okay. What have I forgot? I don't do long ones because well, to be honest, I'm not that good. But I don't like the long ones on a small ornament, so. That countersink I used, I measured it and it was 82 degrees. So I made a little template, and with the white paper, they come out pretty good so far. What did I do with it? I haven't done much of this small spindle. I've made rocking chairs and stools and stuff like that. And I found out, thanks to Dan, that I didn't crank it up fast enough. And it makes a heck of a difference when I did that. I'm going to leave a little bit of a 1/4 inch round down there at the bottom to kind of guide it in to the close enough. little bit more lead-in on mine there. Because it's just a short one, and now a little sandpaper. I like to think that I turn good enough so I can start off with 180, but I'm not going to.
You know, Mr. Bill, you can go the other direction, it's easier for you to sand that way.
Oh, reverse it?
Yeah, stop it,
Oh,
move that slide switch over, and now go.
he's trying to talk me into buying a new one. Just,
I think he's already sold.
I find it easier to sand that way, it's going away from it.
old guys can't change. The ornaments that I make hopefully never end up on a stand. The people I give them to are told you got to put it on a tree, preferably as high as possible. See, you're getting me confused with that switch there. You saw that?
He's got to having the switch on the back side of
This is nice having this to lean against. Mine, there's wheels and belts right there, and it's painful to use.
Bill, if you want to go up to the front, tell them to set one out there for you.
Huh?
We'll tell them to go out there in the front and set one up there for you.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I shouldn't complain. I've got the okay from you know who.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah. That easy part, take it home.
Yeah,
I might not have told her the full price.
She didn't ask about the stand.
Huh?
She didn't ask if the stand was accurate.
That's the question of place they built. That's the
Oh, yeah. That's the nice thing about this club. Well, you got me thinking about that, making a locator. I'm gonna have to come up with something. It was a good idea. Okay, now what I've been doing is lacquering them. So this is my palette. I stick them in there and I go. But after seeing Dan's demo, friction wax and what?
Friction polish, and, well, go first with that triple E buffing, triple E ultra shine. It's used a lot of times with pencil polishing pens. Use that first and then use the friction polish.
That's a lot easier because you'd be done now if you didn't. I won't spray in here. Now what? I gotta find one where I can glue it up. Ah, here's one.
Mr. Bill, could you take that screw that you had up there a while ago, and just before you go to glue those top squares, put that bolt through there, glue it and pull it down and square it
Well,
and hold it that way till it dries. Then the shaft would be straight through.
yeah, I'm not worrying about the shaft getting, it's when it gets over to one side. And if that hole is sloppy, I like the idea of keying off of that center hole in the block.
Well, you had it chucked, you could also pop your 1/4 inch hole in there.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, you want to do them both at the same time. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, now it's time to put a top on, and I take a dab. Let's see what that. I like them with a fat top up. There it goes. No, pounding on there worked fine. Maybe I'll try it this time first. Yeah, it's using a medium CA glue. Okay, now, as you saw when I was turning, I have that little point, and it left a little point, little hole right there, which will help me with the drilling. And you can buy screw eyes up here, but somewhere along the line somebody mentioned using the eye from a fish hook. Well, in my years of fishing in the rain with the tackle box open, I've got a lot of rusty hooks. So this is what we're going to use. And because it's just a shaft, some of these drills don't like little ones. Oh well, we'll give it a go. A little CA glue. And there we go. Now, beginning, I mentioned doing bigger blocks. These are George North's blocks, or sides, and you guys can try making them, but I'm not gonna. That's pretty good scroll sawing. If you've not seen them, that's pretty good. That requires a bigger block, and in an attempt to keep the weight down, let's see. It helps to make a little sketch. Can you show? Can you? Oh yeah. Pretty good. So it's drawn to size. I drew on the profile that I thought I'd use, you know, a head for anyway. And then you can get fancy, but you know where this is going to end, because where that line hits that outside plank, it hits it there too. So you got that point, you got this point. Because of projecting down, and you can find all kinds of points. If it was a great big chunk, you know, you could by drafting come up and locate that curve pretty good. If you've got a CAD system, I'm sure that there's an easy way of doing that.
The bigger ornaments, do you drill them too, just like you did?
Yeah. Now, so here's a blank for that. And in this case, I should have made that hole, the main hole, a little bit bigger. I'm not sure why I didn't. I think it's 1 1/8 on this, and this here is 7/8. And I found out with those Forstner, is that how you pronounce it? Those Forstner bits, if you keep that tip off the hole a little bit, it tracks good. And that's how I came up with this, and everything else is exactly the same.
I didn't think about drilling it out. I made one of those for them, but I, cut it out from the end and hollowed it out, so that'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, like I say, I started out with those segmented ones, and I'm working on the inside, making that outside hole bigger all the time. Luckily, I found a cap big enough to fit it, but I enjoy doing the drilling and the jointing and the sawing and all that more than I enjoy trying to clear out an inside of a hollow tube. And that's about it.
Thank you.